Using Logic Trace 2022, I'm going to digitize a diagram of the sun and moon. And I'm going to cut this out of a hardboard to show the contrast. Here I'm setting up the four corners of the diagram to define the size of the diagram. Setting up these four corners gives you a good size display on the screen. Logic Trace 2022 has various selections for tracing. I'll be using them all: the trace, the line, the arc, and the curve selections. First thing I do before I start to trace, I always mark off my starting spot with a red pencil. I also save my work frequently. That way, if I want to take a break, I can always reload the file and just continue on with the tracing. During my tracing here, it's probably a good spot to talk about the new Logic Trace 2022. The program has been completely rewritten, utilizing new technology, and it works with all the computers. So it'll work with the Apple Mac and the PC. The program creates an easy trace and accurate, and the program has two windows: the control window on the left and the display window on the right. The control window on the left has easy-to-use buttons, which you select. You can select between lines, arcs, curves, and tracing, and gives very accurate patterns. The display window on the right has improved resolution and has an added zoom feature. There are options and setup buttons to configure the program to suit the user's needs. There is a unique feature that allows you to move the control window to another device. In other words, you can extend the display. So you could end up extending this display over to a cell phone or to an iPad, which would make the tracing very easy because you could have that device right beside your hand. I don't use that feature here because I would have to have a third camera on that device showing my selections. I'm going to be using a 150 watt CO2 laser to cut these different pieces of material to show the contrast between the moon and the sun and the background. Because I'm cutting these pieces out with the CO2 laser, these pieces will fit together just like a puzzle. Tight, tight fit. I find the program easy to use, and it's fast, and it has the ability to be saved in different formats like DXF, PolyDXF, SVGs, or PDFs. Getting close now to finishing up my tracing, so I'm going to save this as a final DXF file. I'm going to load this file into Vectric Aspire 11.0, check the vector quality, and do some node editing. I'm also going to run the Aspire 11 simulator just to see how this file is going to look when it's cut. Shown here, I've loaded the file into the laser software. I'm just running the simulator in the software to see how that's going to look. My first cut's going to be an 1/8 inch masonite, which is like a hardboard. I'm going to be using 3 different kinds of materials, all 1/8 inch thick. I'm going to be using a brown masonite, a white masonite, and an oak masonite. These are sometimes called hardboards. I want a special effect with the moon and the sun, so I'm going to combine these different materials to show it up, give it a nice contrast look. And I'll end up spraying the frame around the moon and around the sun black. Shown here, I'm using a white masonite, and I'm just going to cut the moon parts out. It's going to be a good contrasting look. I'm doing the same file cut. I'm just cutting out the sun part, but I'm using the red oak masonite or the hardboard panel. I want that contrasting effect. The next video here you'll see where I just kept the sun parts and the background. Here I've assembled all the parts. You can see the moon and the sun with the frame in the background. But it still wasn't the look that I wanted. I wanted that frame to really show up. So I took it apart, I sprayed the frame black and put it back together again.